There are moments in a NASCAR season that do not show up clearly in the final results. Moments where the standings do not tell the real story. Moments where you have to actually watch the race. Every lap, every restart, every long green flag run, to understand what you just witnessed. Sunday night at Charlotte Motor Speedway was one of those moments, and if you were not paying close attention, there is a very real chance you missed something that could end up being one of the most important storylines of the entire 2026 NASCAR Cup Series season. Welcome to NASCAR Wire Report. Let's break it down. Shane Van Gisbergen finished 11th at the Coca-Cola 600. That is the number that went into the record books. That is the number that showed up on the results sheet. And if you only look at that number, you completely miss what actually happened on that racetrack Sunday night. Because for large portions of one of NASCAR's most demanding events, Shane Van Gisbergen was not just competitive. He was one of the best drivers on the track. And the people inside the NASCAR garage noticed. For almost 2 full years, the conversation surrounding Van Gisbergen has followed the same script. Road course genius. Elite international talent. One of the most gifted drivers in the world when the circuit starts twisting left and right. But then came the questions that followed him everywhere. Can he handle ovals? Can he manage tires over a 400-lap grind? Can he survive the dirty air, the side-by-side traffic, the physical and mental demands of a full intermediate oval race? Those questions were fair when he arrived. And early in his NASCAR journey, there were honestly races where those concerns looked completely justified. The transition from supercars racing in Australia to the NASCAR Cup Series is not something any driver has ever made look easy. The style is different, the cars are different, the tracks are different. The racecraft required for a 500-mile oval race is completely different from anything Van Gisbergen had built his career on. Learning dirty air management, learning tire conservation over long green flag stints, learning how to build pace through a run rather than attacking corners aggressively from the opening lap. Those are lessons that take time, real time. And there were definitely moments earlier in his Cup Series career where the learning curve felt steep, but Charlotte felt different. Charlotte felt like something shifted. From the opening stage, Van Gisbergen was not in survival mode. He was not managing a result or riding strategy to a decent finish. He was racing. He was inside the top 10 for significant stretches of the night. He was collecting stage points. He was going door to door with established Cup Series stars. Christopher Bell, Ty Gibbs, drivers who know exactly how to race on intermediate ovals because they have done it hundreds of times. And Van Gisbergen held his own, more than held his own. He looked comfortable in a way that simply was not there consistently before. As the race progressed and the laps wound down, something remarkable started happening. Van Gisbergen got stronger, not weaker, not fading, stronger. Instead of dropping back as the long runs extended, he maintained his pace. Instead of protecting position, he went looking for speed in multiple lanes. He moved through traffic aggressively and intelligently. He adapted to the changing track conditions as rubber built up and the surface evolved throughout the night. And at one point late in the Coca-Cola 600, Shane Van Gisbergen was running fifth place in one of NASCAR's crown jewel events, on one of the most demanding intermediate ovals on the entire schedule. A combination of strategy timing, a slower pit stop, and an unfortunate restart sequence ultimately moved him back before rain officially concluded the race. The final result was 11th. But the final result does not come close to capturing what this performance actually represented. And that is the part that matters most for what comes next. Because this did not come out of nowhere. The signs have been building all season long if you were watching closely. At Atlanta earlier this year, Van Gisbergen produced what many considered the strongest oval performance of his Cup Series career at that point, a 6th-place finish after surviving multiple close calls and near disasters throughout a chaotic event. Progress. At Daytona, before getting collected in a crash, he spent significant time running near the front with improved confidence in the draft compared to everything critics had predicted. More progress, more evidence, more signs that the learning curve was beginning to flatten. And while the oval development has been happening, he has not lost a single thing that made him terrifying in the first place. His road course speed remains on a different level from almost everyone else in the Cup Series. At Watkins Glen this season, he delivered a performance that honestly needs to be seen to be believed, overcoming a pit road setback, charging through the field, and winning by more than 7 seconds. 7 seconds in modern NASCAR, that margin is almost surreal. At Circuit of the Americas, he finished second and remained a genuine threat for victory the entire afternoon, despite concerns entering the weekend about overall pace. The road course version of Van Gisbergen has not slipped one bit. That combination is exactly why the conversation is changing. The old criticism was clean and simple. Incredible road racer, incomplete NASCAR driver. That argument is becoming very difficult to defend right now. Even fans who were skeptical when Trackhouse Racing brought Van Gisbergen into the Cup Series are starting to acknowledge what they are seeing. And there is something else worth noting that makes this progress even more significant. Trackhouse Racing has not dominated intermediate ovals consistently this season. The organization has had strong moments, but raw speed on mile-and-a-half tracks has not always been easy to find. Yet Van Gisbergen keeps improving. That is important, because it tells you the development is coming from the driver, not just from the equipment. He is learning the tracks. He is learning the racecraft. He is building the intuition that oval racing demands. And he is doing it faster than many people expected was even possible at this stage of his NASCAR career. That changes the ceiling entirely. 12 months ago, the realistic ceiling for Shane Van Gisbergen in the Cup Series looked like a driver who could win road courses, collect some solid oval results, and be a useful piece in a playoff run if everything fell right. Now, if the trajectory from Charlotte continues, if the oval gains keep coming while the road course dominance stays intact, then NASCAR may not be looking at a road course specialist anymore. They may be looking at a championship contender in the making. That is a genuinely different conversation from where this started. Charlotte was not a perfect night. There are still areas to develop. There are still oval situations where more experience will matter. There are still races ahead where the learning process will be visible. Nobody is suggesting Van Gisbergen has fully arrived and solved every challenge NASCAR's oval schedule presents. But what Sunday night at Charlotte showed very clearly is that he is no longer simply trying to survive this kind of race. He is learning how to compete for wins on this kind of race. And that difference between surviving and competing is everything in the NASCAR Cup Series. The version of Shane Van Gisbergen that showed up at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Coca-Cola 600 looked considerably more dangerous than the one critics have been writing think pieces about for the last 2 years. And if the rest of the Cup Series field has not started paying serious attention to what is developing at Trackhouse Racing, Sunday night was probably a very good reminder that they should. This is NASCAR Wire Report, and we will be watching every lap.